This is the Judaism from Within podcast. I'm Simi Lerner, the podcast where we're dedicated to working our way through the works and the teachings of Rav Samson Raphael Hirsch. Now continuing on our journey through the work Horeb. The mitzvah we're dealing with now is Kiddush, but it really does come in a pattern. We spoke about Shabbos, Yom Tov, the prohibitions, what gives it meaning, but also how to do the active work of infusing those ideas into Shabbos in an active way with the celebration of Shabbos. But now we are going to focus on the preserving or the holding on to Shabbos throughout our week, but perhaps more importantly, to how we can make Shabbos impactful each week. This is a bit of a subtle point because we discussed the idea of the celebration, but there's also a danger of any ritual that it becomes rote. It just comes again and again and you sort of become numb to it. What keeps it fresh? What do we do to proclaim its importance on a weekly basis? But more than that, how do we hold on to it during the week? Now, for this, we have three concepts, three ideas that we're going to work our way through. The first one is Kiddush. The second one is Havdalah. And the last one is the extension of Shabbos. Shabbos isn't limited to 24 hours. We always extend over. There is an overflow. And in this week's podcast, I want to talk about Kiddush. And then going forward, we'll speak about Havdalah and the idea of the extension of Shabbos. So let's speak about Kiddush. What's going on here? What are we doing? We get home from shul and we make Kiddush. Well, the first thing to talk about is what are the components of Kiddush? Well, the first component is that we do it when we get home. This is a focus on the home, an idea that constantly emerges from Rav Hirsch's thought, that synagogue is important, obviously, but the place you do Kiddush, the place that you bear testimony to the importance of this day, is from where your life emerges, where your business life should blossom forth. Everything should be from the home. The home should be the place where you cultivate your religious life. The home should be the place where your social interactions and your religious life should emerge from. This is the place for Kiddush. So we have the location, and the importance of what we're about to do comes next. There are three ideas that are mentioned. We open up with Vayichulu, which we proclaim the creation of the world. We then move on to the Bracha on the Kiddush, where we take a cup, a kais, and we make a Bracha on it. We then talk about the holiness of the day in respect to that God has sanctified us with his commandments. And we speak about Zecha L'Maaseh Bereshis and Zecha Yetzias Mitzrayim, the two components that make Shabbos up. But let's try and break this down to give it a flow and a structure that makes it directly meaningful while you're engaged in it. Now, this first point, Vayichulu, we speak about the creation of the world, that God rested on the seventh day. Now, why is this important to open up with? Because this is the statement of purpose. This is the statement of mission. This is a universal human concept. What do I mean by that? Shabbos has different components to it, and its most basic component is that God rested on the seventh day. And as a Jew, you proclaim that Friday night. You proclaim it by your actions and your words. You proclaim it by your actions from withholding from creative activity, and by your words with Kiddush. You proclaim that the world has purpose and the world has meaning. That is another way of saying that your life has mission. Not you only, you and every other human being in the world. Creation isn't interesting from a scientific standpoint. It doesn't really make sense. But it makes sense on a metaphysical level, on a theological level, because you look at reality as being there with intent. That is what Shabbos is at its most fundamental level. With the table set, everything in front of us, we make this proclamation to our family, to our friends, to ourselves. We speak about that we have purpose and we have mission by dint of being human. We then raise a kais. Now, Rav Hirsch's approach to symbolism is obviously a greater topic, but we're in the Eidos now. What does a kais symbolize? And it's interesting, and this is a sort of idea we're going to have to develop over time, but for Rav Hirsch, the symbolism within Judaism is not only key, it basically is how God communicates with us. And Rav Hirsch had rules that governed the whole world of symbolism. We won't get into them here, but on a basic level, he had to prove his ideas. So when we raise a cup, a kais, the root of the word mattered. How that symbol was used throughout Tanakh matters. A good example of this is the menorah. The menorah in the temple and the tabernacle, What does light represent? Well, you could say it represents many things to many different cultures and many different people. The classic one is enlightenment, knowledge, but from a Jewish standpoint, from the point of view of Tanakh, it also represents joy. It also represents an emotional component, in which case that has to be baked into Rav Hirsch's appreciation of symbolism. When it comes to a kais, the root of the word means to count, to determine. You're holding a measurement. You're holding something that was given. And whether it's used in Tanakh, it is used in the respect of accepting a divinely ordained purpose. That is the metaphor it's being used in. I have received my kais. I have received my purpose. So just to fit in the ideas together, this drama that you're enacting Friday night, you open up with the declaration of purpose. The family is already involved with withholding from creative activity. You proclaim purpose and you proclaim that existence is predicated on purpose. You then raise a cup that has the idea of accepting purpose embedded in it. From a symbolic standpoint, it represents the divine purpose, and you hold it up, which means you're not only talking, you're acting, and you hold up this cup and you make a blessing on this cup. That's why, after the first declaration of universal purpose, that's when we lift up a cup. That's when we prepare ourselves to accept it. We then move on to the next stage. The next stage is talking about the holiness of the day. We speak about being sanctified with God's commandments. This is the uniquely Jewish role. Shabbos has those two components: remembrance of creation and remembrance of the Exodus. One calls to us as a human, the other one calls to us in the unique mission of the Jew. The unique mission of the Jew has been sanctified with God's commandments. Now, we discussed this when we spoke about holiness, but just to touch in on that, what does it mean to be sanctified? The mitzvahs draw us on a mission. Being holy is a phrase that can mean many different things to many different peoples, but for the Jew, it means you are cultivating yourself to achieve this purpose. So what do we have? We open with purpose. We raise a cup to symbolize our acceptance of that purpose. We then go to the particulars of what it means to live out that purpose as a Jew, to live out God's commandments, to live out the goal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. That is what we're doing Friday night. And then we drink, which is symbolic of the acceptance of this role. That is what we do every Friday night in front of our families, at the base point of where our religious life should emerge from. So with this in mind, the first danger is averted. Shabbos isn't going to creep up on us. Shabbos isn't going to pass unnoticed as ritual can become habit. If we focus on what we're doing Friday night when we make Kiddush, we invest this symbolic drama with its meaning. You're at home. You proclaim purpose. You accept that purpose. And then you speak about the unique role as a Jew. You then drink. And the family drinks with you. This is the drama that is Kiddush. We are summoned as Jews. We are summoned as human beings. And we live that out Friday night. So, that's Kiddush. Now we're going to move to Havdalah. And I will see you next week for that one. Have a wonderful week.